Chapter 1. America is back. The chamber is silent. The air is heavy with anticipation. Then, applause. A wave of clapping spreads across the room. Some stand, cheering. Others remain in their seats, arms crossed. Donald Trump walks in, slow and steady. His face was serious. He raises a hand, a small wave, a nod. His eyes move across the hall, taking it all in. The Speaker of the House clears his throat. His voice echoes through the grand chamber. Mr. President of the United States. The applause grows louder, stronger, but not from everyone. Some lawmakers glance at each other, whispering, others keep their arms folded. The cameras flash. The world is watching. Trump reaches the podium. He adjusts the microphone. His hands rest firmly on the wooden surface. He looks left, then right. The noise fades. Silence again. He leans in. America is back. His voice booms. The words hang in the air. For a moment, there is no response. Then, a second wave of applause, mixed with a few muffled voices, a cheer from the back, a murmur from the front. Trump nods. He expected this. He grips the sides of the podium. For too long, we have been weak. We have been ignored, but no more. His tone is strong, clear. We will bring back power. We will bring back respect. And we will bring back American greatness. Some lawmakers stand, clapping, shouting. Others shake their heads. A few whisper to their neighbors. A camera zooms in on a senator's face, tight-lipped, unmoving. Trump continues. The world is changing, fast, and America must lead. He pauses. His eyes scan the room. We will no longer bow to foreign powers. We will no longer let others take what is ours. He takes a deep breath. The tension is thick. Every word lands like a hammer. This is not just a speech. This is a promise. A reporter in the back scribbles notes. A congresswoman frowns, crossing her arms. A senator nods, tapping his fingers on his desk. Trump points a finger. Some of you don't believe me. Some of you think this is just talk. His voice sharpens. But let me be clear. This is not the old America. This is a new day, a new era. A rustling spreads through the hall. Papers shifting, chairs creaking. Someone coughs. Trump leans in again. We will protect our country. We will secure our borders. We will put America first. His words echo. The phrase, America first, hangs in the air. It is familiar, it is powerful, and it is controversial. A senator whispers something to a colleague. A few eyes rolled, but some faces are filled with determination. Trump continues. We will bring jobs back, factories back, pride back. His hands tighten on the podium, because America belongs to its people, not to the elites, not to foreign governments, and not to those who do not love this country. A pause, a deep silence, then applause again. Strong, loud, but not from everyone. The room is split. Trump's eyes narrow. He expected this, too. He tilts his head, speaking slower now. I know some of you don't agree. That's fine, but you will see. His voice drops lower, steady. You will see what happens when America stands tall again. A few lawmakers shake their heads. A man in the front row leans back, arms crossed. But across the room, a group of representatives are standing, clapping, cheering. Trump lifts his chin. Tonight, I will tell you how we will fix this country, how we will protect our future. how we will stop the threats against us. He pauses. Some of you will not like it. A small chuckle from the crowd. A few smiles. Trump's lips curl slightly. But that's okay, because the American people are ready, and so am I. The clapping grows again. The energy is high, but the room is still divided. Some faces are excited, others are tense. Trump glances toward the cameras. America is back, and the world is about to find out what that means. The applause swells, and the battle for America's future begins. Chapter 2: The Ukrainian issue and Zelensky's letter. The room is quiet. Too quiet. Some lawmakers lean forward, waiting. Others sit back, arms crossed. Cameras flash. Reporters take notes. The world is listening. Donald Trump rests his hands on the podium. He looks across the chamber. His eyes are sharp, focused. He takes a deep breath. The war in Ukraine. It must end. The words drop like a stone in water. A murmur spreads through the hall. Some lawmakers nod. Others frown. A few glance at each other. Whispering, Trump raises a hand. The noise fades. And I have news for you. He pauses. The media won't tell you this. The fake news will hide it. But I will tell you the truth. More murmurs. A senator shifts in his seat. A congresswoman leans forward, listening carefully. Trump's voice lowers. Slow, deliberate. President Zelensky sent me a letter. Silence. He lets the moment stretch. The tension is thick. A letter you won't hear about on the fake news. A wave of whispers moves through the room. A few lawmakers shake their heads. Others raise their eyebrows. Some wait, hands folded. Trump taps the podium. In this letter, Zelensky told me something important. Something the world needs to hear. He looks around. His voice is steady. Zelensky is ready to negotiate, gasps. A few lawmakers sit up straighter. Some shake their heads in disbelief. Trump nods. That's right, he is ready. But no one wants to talk about it. A voice calls out. Is this true? Another follows. Where is the proof? Trump lifts a hand. The letter is real, and I will make sure the world sees it. Some clap. Others remain still. He continues. For too long, this war has drained our country. Billions and billions of dollars sent overseas. And for what? He spreads his hands. Americans are struggling. Prices are rising. Our border is weak, and yet Washington keeps sending money. Weapons, soldiers. His voice hardens. It has to stop. A senator leans back, shaking his head. A congresswoman furrows her brow. Some look uncertain. Trump presses on. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You think I'm wrong. You think we must stay in this war. His eyes scan the room. He points. But let me ask you, how does this end? How many more lives? How much more money? How much more destruction? A deep silence fills the chamber. Trump straightens. Peace is possible, but only if we lead. Only if we push for it. Not with weapons, but with diplomacy. A few lawmakers clap. Others remain frozen. A reporter types quickly. The camera lights glow. Trump's voice drops lower. Zelensky knows this war cannot go on forever. He is ready, but some in this room, some in this government do not want peace. The tension thickens. Some shake their heads. Others lean in. Why? Trump asks. Because war makes money. War gives power. More whispers, more shifting in seats. Trump nods, but not anymore. Under my leadership, we will not fight endless wars. We will bring our soldiers home. We will stop wasting American dollars on conflicts that are not ours. He places both hands on the podium. This is not a weakness, this is strength. His voice rises. A strong America does not need war. A strong America leads with wisdom, with strategy, with power. Some clap again, a few stand. Others remain stiff, unmoving. Trump lets the moment breathe. He takes a slow sip of water. He wipes his mouth with a napkin. Then he continues. I will work with Ukraine. I will work with Russia. And I will end this war. A senator in the front shakes his head. A lawmaker in the back scribbles notes. Trump smirks. Some of you don't believe me. That's fine. He leans in. But you will see. His words hang in the air. The room is divided. The world is watching. And the battle over Ukraine is far from over. Chapter 3, The Minerals and Security Agreement. The room is tense. The air feels thick, heavy. Lawmakers lean forward, listening. Some take notes. Others sit still, waiting. Cameras flash. The world is watching. Trump grips the podium. His eyes scan the chamber. He takes a breath, then speak. We are making the biggest security agreement with Ukraine, not with weapons, but with something even more powerful. Minerals. A murmur spreads through the room. A few lawmakers nod. Some whisper to their colleagues. Others frown, waiting for more. Trump continues, his voice strong. For too long, China has controlled the world's rare earth minerals, the metals we need for phones, for computers, for military equipment. He pauses. They control it. They decide who gets it. His fingers tap the wooden podium. The sound echoes. Not anymore. The room stiffens. Trump looks to the left, then to the right. We are securing a new deal. A deal that will make America stronger. A deal that will bring critical minerals to our country. Some lawmakers clap. Others remain still. A senator in the back raises an eyebrow. A journalist types quickly, fingers tapping the keyboard. Trump lifts a hand. Ukraine has what we need, and we have what they need. Security, stability, a future. He steps back for a moment, then leans in again. We will help Ukraine develop its resources. We will mine together. We will process together. And America will no longer be dependent on China. His voice rises. This is about power, real power. The power to build, the power to protect, the power to lead. A few nods, a few shake their heads. Some cross their arms. A lawmaker calls out, "Is this really about security, Mr. President?" Trump tilts his head. He expected this question. He smirks. Good question. He pauses, letting the silence grow. Then he speaks again. This is about securing America's future. This is about making sure we are never at the mercy of a foreign country. His voice sharpens. Some of you want to keep relying on China. Some of you are happy letting them control our economy. A senator shifts in his seat. A congresswoman exhales sharply. Trump presses on. But I will not let that happen. A few scattered claps. Some whispers. A man in the back adjusts his tie. Trump takes another step forward. You want to talk about security? Let's talk about real security. The security to make our own weapons, our own technology, our own future. He points toward the lawmakers. Without these minerals, we are weak. Without these minerals, we fall behind. His voice deepens, and I don't like losing. A chuckle from one side of the room. A stiff silence from the other. Trump crosses his arms. Some of you are thinking, is this about business? Is this about money? He pauses. I'll tell you right now, I don't care what you call it. He taps the podium again. America will win, and America will be stronger. A few lawmakers nod. A senator scribbles a note. A journalist looks up, waiting for more. Trump straightens. I have spoken with President Zelensky. He understands this deal. He knows that a strong Ukraine means a strong future. A voice from the back calls out, "What does Ukraine get?" Trump lifts a finger. Good question. His tone is smooth, steady. Ukraine gets investment. Ukraine gets security. Ukraine gets the chance to rebuild, to grow, to stand on its own. He glances around the room. You don't believe me? He shrugs. Wait and see. Another murmur spreads. Some lawmakers whisper. Others check their phones. A few shake their heads. Trump smirks again. I know some of you don't like this. I know some of you will fight it. His voice lowers. But I don't care. The words land like a hammer. The room is silent again. Trump takes a slow breath. This is not just a deal. This is the future. A pause. A long, deep pause. Then applause. Some clap loudly. Others stay frozen. Some stare ahead, thinking. Trump nods. America first. America is strong. He steps back. The speech continues. But the debate has only just begun. Chapter 4. Economic Policy and Tariffs. The room is filled with tension. Lawmakers sit upright, waiting. Some lean forward, listening carefully. Others sit back, arms crossed. The cameras flash. The world is watching. Trump grips the podium, his eyes sharp, his expression firm. He takes a deep breath, then speaks. We will bring back American jobs. His voice is strong. The words echo through the grand hall. A wave of applause rises from one side of the chamber. Others remain silent. A few lawmakers glance at each other, whispering. Trump nods, satisfied. For too long, bad deals have destroyed our economy. Bad trade deals, bad regulations, bad policies. He pauses, letting the words sink in. He grips the edges of the podium, but no more. He looks across the room, scanning the faces. Today, I am announcing new tariffs. A murmur spreads. Some lawmakers clap. Others shake their heads. A senator raises an eyebrow. Trump continues, his tone sharp. These tariffs will be high. They will protect American workers. They will protect American companies. They will protect our future. His voice grows louder. For decades, foreign countries have taken advantage of us. They sell us cheap goods. They take our money. They steal our jobs. He taps the podium once, twice. The sound echoes. Not anymore. A wave of cheers. Some lawmakers clap. Others remain still. A congresswoman scribbles notes. A journalist types quickly, his fingers moving fast across the keyboard. Trump lifts his chin. China, Mexico, Europe. They have been getting rich while we suffer. He shakes his head. We will fight back. We will win. A lawmaker from the front row raises a hand. Mr. President, won't these tariffs make things more expensive? Trump leans forward. Let me tell you something. His voice is lower now, controlled. Higher tariffs mean higher prices in the short term. He pauses, but in the long term, it means more jobs, more factories, more American-made products. The room is silent. Some nod, others frown. He continues, voice steady. If you want cheap goods made in China, go ahead. But I want something better. I want to make it in the USA. The words hit hard. More applause, more cheers. But not from everyone. Trump smirks. Some of you don't like this. He looks directly at his critics. Some of you want to keep things the way they are. Some of you are happy with weak American companies, with factories closing, with families struggling. His tone sharpens. But I am not happy with that, and neither are the American people. A lawmaker shakes his head. This will hurt trade. He mutters to his colleague. A senator in the back sighs, rubbing his forehead. Trump sees them. He sees the doubt, the worry, but he does not stop. We will also cut taxes. We will slash regulations. We will help small businesses. We will put America first. The words ring out. More applause, stronger this time. The energy is rising. The divide is clear. Some love this plan, others fear it. A journalist leans toward his microphone. Will this help the economy or destroy it? He whispers. An economist on TV shakes his head. Tariffs could cause inflation, he says. Prices could go up. Markets could suffer. A business leader watches from his office. He rubs his chin, thinking, will this be good or will it be a disaster? Trump stands tall, confident. He knows this plan will shake things up. He knows not everyone will agree, but he also knows one thing. America will be strong again, he says. America will win again. And whether they love him or hate him, everyone knows the economy will never be the same. Ardennes and their safety. The room is silent. The air feels heavy. Some lawmakers sit still, waiting. Others shift in their seats, whispering to their neighbors. Cameras flash. Reporters lean forward, pens ready. Trump steps up to the podium. His expression is serious. His hands rest on the wooden surface. He looks around the chamber, taking his time. Then he speaks. We must protect our citizens. His voice is deep, strong. The words echo through the grand hall. A few lawmakers nod. Others remain frozen, arms crossed. Trump continues. For too long, crime has hurt too many Americans. Too many innocent lives have been lost. His face tightens. His grip on the podium hardens. And we will remember them. The silence deepens. The weight of his words fills the room. Trump takes a slow breath. Tonight, I am announcing something important, something meaningful. He pauses. A national wildlife refuge, the Ardennes, will now have a new name. A murmur spreads through the chamber. Some lawmakers raise their eyebrows. Others exchange glances. A few reporters scribble notes quickly. Trump raises his hand. The whispers stop. This refuge will be renamed in honor of a young woman. A woman whose life was taken by a violent criminal. His voice drops lower. A woman who should still be here today. A few gasps. A senator frowns, shifting in his chair. A congresswoman bites her lip, waiting. Trump's tone sharpens. This is not just a name change. This is a message. He scans the room. A message to criminals. A message to law-abiding Americans. A message to the world. Some clap, others do not. A voice calls from the back. Why change the name of a wildlife refuge? Trump turns his head slightly. His expression does not change, because we must remember, his voice is steady. We must honor the victims, and we must take action. A pause. He continues. For too long, weak laws have allowed dangerous criminals to walk free. His hands tighten into fists. No more. A senator in the front leans forward. What are you proposing, Mr. President? Trump meets his gaze. Stronger laws, tougher sentences, more protection for our citizens. He points toward the chamber. Some of you will fight this. Some of you will call it extreme. He shakes his head. But what's extreme is letting crime continue. More whispers. A few lawmakers shake their heads. Some scribbled notes. Trump straightens. We will stand by the families who have lost their loved ones. His voice softens just a little. We will remember them. He takes a slow sip of water. Then he continues. This is not political. This is about justice. His eyes narrow. Some of you say this is just a symbol. He shakes his head. This is a promise. A reporter types furiously. A camera zooms in. The debate is just beginning. Trump's voice deepens. We will keep our cities safe. We will keep our borders strong. We will fight crime, and we will win. A wave of applause rises. Some lawmakers stand, clapping. Others remain seated, unmoving. The divide is clear. Trump nods once. The decision is made. The battle for safety has begun. Before we begin Chapter 6, a quick note for our listeners. You're currently listening to this audiobook on Wonglish. Remember, this content is specially made for Wonglish listeners only. If you're hearing it on any other channel, it may be a violation of Wonglish's rights. Please ensure you're tuned in to the right source to fully enjoy and respect this audiobook journey. Now, let's continue the story. Chapter 6. The Panama Canal and global trade. The chamber is quiet. Lawmakers sit upright, waiting. Some lean forward, hands folded. Others glance at each other, whispering. The cameras flash. Journalists adjust their microphones. The world is listening. Trump rests his hands on the podium. His expression is firm. His eyes scan the room. He takes a slow breath, then speaks. We cannot allow our enemies to control trade. The words hit the room like a thunderclap. A murmur spreads. Some lawmakers nod. Others sit still, their faces unreadable. Trump continues. The Panama Canal, one of the most important trade routes in the world, a gateway between the Pacific and the Atlantic. He pauses, and right now, it is under threat. A few lawmakers whisper. A senator adjusts his glasses. A congresswoman raises an eyebrow. Trump's voice sharpens. China is moving in. China is taking control. And some of you are letting it happen. A few heads shake. Others remain still. Trump leans forward. For decades, America protected that canal. We built it. We secured it. We made sure it was open to the world. His fingers tap the podium. But now, things are changing. He straightens. His voice rises. China is investing. China is buying influence. And China is getting stronger. More whispers. Some lawmakers shift in their seats. A reporter writes quickly. The pen scratching against paper. Trump lifts a hand. This is not just about Panama. This is about global trade. This is about power. He pauses. Who controls trade? Controls the world. A heavy silence follows. He grips the podium. Under my leadership, we will protect our interests. We will not let foreign powers control the flow of goods. We will not stand back while our economy is put at risk. A lawmaker in the front row clears his throat. Mr. President, are you saying we should take over the canal? Trump tilts his head. He expected this question. He smirks. I'm saying we must be strong. A few chuckles from the back. A few uneasy glances. Trump leans in again. His voice lowers. Weakness is dangerous. Hesitation is dangerous. If we don't act now, we will lose. A senator shakes his head. A congresswoman takes notes. A journalist whispers into a microphone. Is this about security or global dominance? Trump points toward the room. I know some of you don't want to hear this. Some of you think we should just sit back and watch. He shakes his head. But I don't watch. I lead, his voice deepens. We will strengthen our influence. We will ensure fair trade. We will protect the interests of the American people. A moment of silence, then a slow clap. One lawmaker stands, then another. Others remain seated, arms crossed. The divide is clear. Trump nods. America first. America is strong. The cameras keep rolling. The world keeps watching. And the battle for trade has just begun. The air in the chamber changes. It is no longer just tense. It is electric. Some lawmakers lean forward, hands clenched. Others sink into their chairs, arms crossed. The cameras zoom in. The world is watching. Trump grips the podium. His face is firm. His voice is louder now. Crime is out of control. A few heads nod. Others shake. He doesn't stop. Mexican gangs are destroying our cities. Gasps. A ripple moves through the room. Some clap. Others frown. A senator whispers something to his colleague. A congresswoman scribbles notes. Trump's voice sharpens. These gangs flood our streets with drugs. They attack innocent Americans. They bring violence, fear, chaos. More whispers. A few lawmakers shift uncomfortably. Others sit frozen, waiting. Trump points toward the room. We have let this happen for too long. His voice rises. We must stop it. And we will stop it. The words land like a hammer. A lawmaker from the back row clears his throat. Mr. President, what do you plan to do? Trump straightens. We will build a stronger border. We will deport criminals. We will take back control. He pauses. Then, with force, we will take our country back. More applause, more cheers, but not from everyone. A senator shakes his head. A voice from the left side of the chamber calls out, "This is fear-mongering." Trump smirks. Fear-mongering, he leans in. Tell that to the families who have lost loved ones. Tell that to the victims of these gangs. His voice is steady, cold. Tell that to the Americans who don't feel safe in their own neighborhoods. A heavy silence follows. Trump continues. These criminals are not welcome here. They are not citizens. They are invaders. A murmur spreads. Some nod in agreement. Others look away. A journalist types quickly, his hands shaking slightly. Trump lifts a finger. We will send them back. Every last one. A pause. A deep, weighted pause. A congresswoman stands. Mr. President, what about legal immigrants? What about families? Trump turns to her. His expression does not change. Good question. He folds his hands. We will protect those who follow the law. We will welcome those who come here the right way. He looks across the room. But if you break our laws, if you bring crime into our country, you will be gone. A few cheers. A few books. The divide is clear. Trump presses on. Weakness has put America in danger. Weak leadership, weak laws. His voice deepens. But weakness ends tonight. The applause is louder now. Some stand, others remain seated, arms crossed. Trump nods once. America will be strong again. The chamber buzzes. The cameras flash. The speech continues. But the fight over immigration is far from over. Chapter 8: China's dominance in global maritime trade. The chamber is still. Lawmakers lean in, waiting. Some hold pens, ready to write. Others glance at each other, unsure of what will come next. The cameras zoom in. The world is listening. Trump grips the podium. His face is firm. His voice is steady. He raises a hand, then points a finger. China controls the seas. A few gasps. Some nod. Others shake their heads. Trump's voice sharpens, but not for long. He steps back for a moment. The room is silent. Then he leans in again. We will fight back. We will win. The words cut through the air. Some lawmakers clap. Others remain still. A senator in the back shifts in his chair. Trump continues, his tone serious. For years, China has been taking control of global trade. They control ports. They control shipping routes. They control the supply chain. A lawmaker mutters something under his breath. Another whispers to his colleague. Trump lifts a hand. Some of you don't want to hear this. Some of you want to ignore it, but I won't ignore it. His voice rises. If China controls the seas, they control the world, and I will not let that happen. A few lawmakers nod. A journalist types quickly. The room feels heavier now. Trump presses on. They use their power to push others down. They use their money to buy influence. They use their strength to weaken America. His hand slams the podium. A sharp sound. A moment of tension. We must act. We must fight back. A voice from the left side of the room calls out. How, Mr. President? Trump smirks. He expected this question. First, we will bring manufacturing back to America. No more dependence on China. His voice deepens. Second, we will protect our shipping lanes. Our Navy will ensure that trade stays fair and free. A pause, a heavy silence. Trump's eyes narrow. And if China doesn't like it, too bad. Some lawmakers clap. Others remain frozen. A senator whispers to his assistant. Trump nods. We will rebuild our ports. We will expand our naval power. We will lead again. A congresswoman stands. Mr. President, aren't you afraid this could start a trade war? Trump turns toward her. His expression does not change. A trade war, he shrugs. We're already in one. A few gasps. He leans forward. The difference is, I plan to win it. Applause from one side of the room, silence from the other. The divide is clear. Trump nods once. America first. America is strong. The speech continues. The world watches, and the battle for global trade has begun. Chapter 9. The political reactions. The speech is over. The chamber is alive with movement. Some lawmakers stand, clapping loudly. Others remain seated, arms crossed, whispering to each other. A few shake their heads. Some smile, others frown. Reporters rush toward the exits. Their phones glow as they type. calling their editors, sending updates. Cameras flash. Microphones pick up the chatter. Outside, news stations break into their regular programming. Trump's fiery speech, one anchor announces, a strong leader or a dangerous force. On social media, reactions explode. Trump is saving America. One post reads, "This is reckless. He is dividing the country." Another says, "The American people are split." Some cheer, feeling hopeful. Others are worried, tense. Some shake their heads as they watch the news. Some pump their fists in the air. At a diner in Texas, a group of truck drivers sit around a table, coffee cups in hand. One leans back, nodding. He's right. America needs to be strong again. The others agree. In New York, inside a small apartment, a teacher watches the screen. She sighs. "This is not leadership," she whispers. Her roommate shakes her head. "I'm scared for the future." Congress is still buzzing. Lawmakers are giving interviews, their voices rising over one another. "We just saw a president stand up for America," one senator says, smiling. Another frowns. "He is pushing us toward disaster." In the White House press room, reporters bombard Trump's press secretary with questions. Will this start a global trade war? Is he really ending support for Ukraine? What happens next? No clear answers come. The press secretary dodges. The president has made his position clear. Meanwhile, foreign leaders react. In Beijing, officials watch closely. One advisor turns to another. This speech was not just for America, it was for us. They nod, serious. In Moscow, a statement is released. We welcome peace talks on Ukraine, but we will not be threatened by economic games. The message is clear. In Europe, leaders hold emergency meetings. What will America do next? One asks. The room is silent. No one knows. At the Pentagon, military officials review the speech. They exchange glances, speaking in hushed tones. Will we be forced to act? In Wall Street, the stock market reacts. Prices rise, then fall, then rise again. Investors are uncertain. They watch. They wait. America is divided. Congress is divided. The world is watching. The battle of words is over. But the real fight, the real consequences, they are just beginning. Chapter 10. The Aftermath. A day later, the headlines are everywhere. News anchors speak with urgency. Newspapers print bold, black letters. Social media burns with arguments. A new era begins. Trump's speech, a turning point or a disaster. The world reacts. America is awake, talking, fighting. Some call him a hero. Others call him reckless. In homes, in offices, in cafes, people debate. A truck driver in Ohio shakes his head as he sips his coffee. Finally, someone who tells the truth. His friend across the table frowns. Or someone who is leading us into trouble. In Los Angeles, a college professor scrolls through the news on his phone. He exhales slowly. This is dangerous. His students watch, waiting for his opinion. But it was also powerful, he admits. In Washington, the halls of Congress are alive with energy. Some lawmakers celebrate. This is what America needed, they say to reporters. Others are furious. This speech will divide us even more. The White House is quiet from the outside, but inside, it is chaotic. Advisors rush in and out of meetings. Phones ring, emails flood inboxes. What do we do next? Someone asks. Trump is calm. Sitting in the Oval Office, he leans back in his chair. He watches the news. He listens. He waits. At the Pentagon, military officials gather. Will China respond? One asks. What will happen with Ukraine? Another wonders. The answers are unclear. In Beijing, officials are serious. One man folds his arms. America is making a move. Another nods. We must be ready. In Moscow, a government spokesperson steps in front of cameras. Russia does not respond to threats, he says. His voice is cold. In Europe, leaders make phone calls. Their voices are tense. Will America pull back its support? Can we still trust them? The stock market shakes. Can we still trust them? The stock market shakes. Prices go up, then down, then up again. Investors watch closely. At the US-Mexico border, security is tighter. More patrols, more checkpoints. Officers look out across the desert. They know things could change soon. For some, the speech was inspiring. It gave them hope. For others, it was dangerous. It made them afraid. One thing is clear: nothing will be the same again.